Are we back? I think we're back. Just a little drop frame. Actually, I didn't drop frames. For some reason, my internet coughed. Yeah, sorry. I think that was on my end. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, the idea that everyone could have the right to equal technology and we don't have to tier everything to make luxury goods for people that deserve more for some reason and have people living in squalor. Like, if everyone's guaranteed a cell phone, internet, food, blankets and stuff. And then if you want to come up with monetary stuff later that doesn't involve any of that, sure, we could find a way to have goods that people could choose to have that are not required for everyone to have. Some optional goods. But the idea that everyone always needs to earn money and exchange that money for a right to live, that does need to be abolished. Yeah, working for a wage. We're also talking about a future coming from a present that has AI and robots in it that are taking jobs and not stopping. So, like, again, we're kind of doubling down on the why do we need money? We're like barreling into a future where everything is going to be automated and take care of itself. Why do people need to compete? You would extend the previous statement that it's the approach and degree that makes all the difference. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I think at some point we would always have a way to put in more work and get a little bit more out. But it'd be nice if money just became a tiny thing, a tiny little thing that everyone has. Maybe just an allowance. Maybe you have an allowance to spend on luxury goods. Because, there is some scarcity in the world. And, you could choose whether you have a laptop next to your government issued computer that will do whatever job that you need to do is. Then you can. But you're probably going to give up, the clothes with the rhinestones on them. You have a much better long-term approach that actually acts as net good for everyone involved. Instead of just min-max for next quarter. I think we're on the same page about that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess in theory, when we talk about AI stuff, I should say that it's only within the bounds that we're in the current economic system where you need to work for a wage and people are losing jobs to AI and it's not getting replaced with another means to support humans. In the future, I want AI to do a lot of stuff. Obviously, I'm probably not going to be using AI to make art because I like making art. But I was talking extensively about how I want AI to be translating the code I write to be more efficient code. And I already have a compiler doing something like that already. Yeah, we just need to push AI more to the background so it's doing things automatically and we get to keep being humans. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder, do you all think that there would be working as a standard for all humans in the next 5 or 10 years? Or is it going to be something where there's only a few people that are working, specialized jobs that are well paid for? I would hope so. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's weird. Capitalism worked for a little while. Or maybe it had pockets of working, which I do find kind of odd. Because then it just went all wrong. Yeah, I don't know. So many mixed messages about the state of AI going around. I mean, yeah, no, it's fair. Like, because we're in. Do you mean me specifically? Because that's also fair. I don't know. We're like on the precipice. We don't push forward in the right direction. Like AI is going to, not even on purpose, just like take the stilts out from under society. Seems unlikely that AGI pops out from current transformer approach. I could agree with that. How much do you feel like we need AGI to do things though? Like if we do keep using the transformer model and it does keep improving at whatever rate that it's improving at, which is pretty quickly from what I understand, that it couldn't still take over a lot of stuff. Like again, I'm willing to talk about it if we're assuming that we have guaranteed income. UBI is an important factor. Because yeah, I don't know, one person, if we all got the option to work or not work, and you got money for working, and you got basic human rights for not working, like, okay, and maybe how much you work and what you're doing could also make some changes. Then we could have one person working a lot of AI to do a lot more jobs. Like, it could be reasonable. Turns out things. Non-smart nets can do things like analyze radiography pretty well. Well, yeah, we've been living with AI being used all over the place. I think we're only talking about AI as a topic because it's been given to consumers as a toy to play with. And I do want to put it like that. Like it is, it's a chatbot. We've had chatbots forever, but now it comes up with stuff that can pass a Turing test. Sorry to say. Like, maybe not from like being a perfect AI standpoint, but I think it passes both because it's good enough and because people are so varied and difficult to predict. Like, I don't know. If you talk to someone for the first time halfway around the world, they might communicate in a way that seems very different to you. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at. Toolnets just don't talk back, so you don't get news spots. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, maybe the biggest problem is that the AI that's getting the news spots is the toys that people are playing with that are better chatbots that we've had since the 90s, and they're being used to actually replace people in law offices, in journalism, uh, in writing artistic pieces, like so many things. Yeah, it's a good summation. It's insulting to have what you do taken over by a toy. And that's what ChatGPT feels like. Yeah, I don't know. Can we get ChatGPT to convince our lawmakers to give us UBI? It's a true test. Not that. Right here. And stop there. It's like, why can't I add bools together sometimes? Like, this is just turning everything off. I could do greater than, I can do less than, and they will have the same effect because it's always going to evaluate to nothing. That's a slightly different effect, but only slightly. Just don't get this. I really don't. Like, there is no accumulation within a repeat zone. It's a broken snapshot that shouldn't exist. I don't get it. But think what the first cars looked like, and the first plane, and for that matter, the first wheel. Okay, here's a question. Is the first wheel just the roundest rock you could find? Was it a sphere? And then did we ruin the wheel by trying to make it axial? Axial? Like, I also... okay, I'm starting to regret going into this direction, so we might abandon it immediately. But the first cars didn't take the jobs of people as much as it took the jobs of horses that are probably happier not to be pulling large loads. The first plane did not take the spot of a person that could fly people on their back, or an animal, right, that went extinct because it wasn't being used, right? There's no existence validation that's being challenged. And then the first wheel, I don't know, people aren't round enough. I don't know if I'm threatened by the wheel. Who was threatened by the wheel? I want to see that skit of the caveman that's upset at his neighbor for making the wheel. Like, ruins his rucksack business or something. Yeah, the first cars they were problematic, right, for horses, because horse-drawn carriages had to coexist with cars. Also, if I didn't say it, hi Kroji, how are you? What are you working on today? I don't get it, it just jiggles. That one up there, put this one down here. And it's going backwards. Good. And got nothing done today. You missed a bit. Twitch was trying to play ads. I should actually look to check when ads are going to pop up. All right, wait, where was I? Okay, so the first cars did have to challenge horse-drawn carriages and were problematic on roads because they had to share the roads. Horses are startled easily, and cars make a lot of noise. So the first cars, terrifying, very disruptive. The first plane, though, didn't take the job of anyone that previously flew, people from place to place, right? Like, the first plane created something in a void. That neighbor said, "Oh no, look what you've done. This will lead to NASCAR." And a good point. How productive is NASCAR? How much fuel are they burning? How much money gets put into cars that just need to go around a circle? And you're hoping for them to crash because the rest of it's boring. You're right, Croji. Absolutely right. But yeah, I don't know. So the one thing that a friend has been saying when we talk AI stuff is when the camera came out, all of the portrait artists and painters were upset. And I was, I guess, validly upset because no one really pays people to get their portrait painted anymore. It did actually ruin lives. It took jobs. It changed the world for different. I won't say better or worse. Even though I kind of feel like it's worse because cameras just snap whatever the hell and it actually takes a real artist, but everyone can do it. And now there's a whole bunch of photos that I never want to see in my whole life. And I would have to dig through lots of photos to find any good ones. Whereas painting was hard. People did it and they got skills and they made beautiful things. And I still appreciate paintings way more than I do photography. But somehow he still tries to leverage that as cameras are good. And I'm like, no, I think cameras are still bad. Those ancient people are all gone now? All they left is their NASCAR line in the desert. True. And, yep. And their pleasure barges at the bottom of rivers. So Rome had some, like, cruise ships that were so big that they couldn't actually sail, from what I understand. There was at least one. They like touched the bottom of the river, and they did it to be grand. And I'm like, wow, that sounds like today. So clearly, we're just going towards the fall of our current world order or something. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't spell that. Why can't I extrude correctly? That's the real question. That's the one leaving the philosophers in their academia. Just one stupid extrude. But you can't do any of the others without the first one. Yeah, I don't know. So my friend uses the camera to be like, oh yeah, AI is not the death of what you love to do. It will coexist. And I'm like, oh no, it's proof that it will kill jobs and the people that survive off of them. Here are cameras. Then again, probably wouldn't have VR or 3D without cameras. I don't know. Progress is tricky. Just like nodes. Painting, sure, but why did it take so long to invent perspective? I heard that was a style choice, and they went between doing perspective. Oh, well, perspective was also a technology that was evolved over time. As weird as that sounds, but yeah, the ability to do 3-point perspective came after they figured out 2-point perspective, and that came after they figured out 1-point perspective. And I think after 1-point perspective, they went towards, what's the term? I guess orthogonal, where they tried to do everything as literal as it is in reality, not how you perceive it in reality. And that's actually the most jarring art to me. It's like that Middle Ages stuff that's supposed to be orthogonal. Yeah, you do wonder sometimes though, like, what were they thinking? What were they sitting around doing if they couldn't just draw a few lines and guide everything in a few ways? So we should not have gone to offset printing because the woodblock printer lost their jobs. All right, wait, what is offset printing? Let me make sure I'm aware. Maybe. Maybe. The only argument I have against this is that offset printing could create products that couldn't exist before. Maybe. I don't know. I would need to ask because I kind of assumed things with the printing press, you would have an update in technology and the people that were journalists or press tech at the time would move to a new system. But yeah, that being said, the people carving wood blocks and the people carving out negatives for things. I mean, CNC is really the thing that killed that, right? Like, you could say it's this. I'm gonna say CNC. It's closer. I'm also gonna stick with the, I do feel like the industry of printing moved people along with it. Mostly. Maybe I need more history lessons. Maybe that was just kind of like in Europe and America. Maybe other places actually had quite an upset. Again, you said there's still people doing wood block, right? I'm having double standards. I think you're right. I think we just have to say offset printing's evil. We have to stick to our Luddite ways. We use our hands. We carve the block. We put it in ink that we ringed with our own two hands. And then we stamp. I think we went too far with inventing fire. I will argue with you there. Fire was not an invention. It was a resource or phenomenon in nature that was harnessed, like the creation of fire, maybe. Like, fire existed and terrorized people from way before we could create it. Then again, sure, it led to steam engines, which led to steampunk. Clearly a horrible thing the world would be better without. Kappa. Yeah, fire, it burns places. We need to have firefighters in society. You might be right. Fire's evil. Get rid of fire. They say they have cold soldering irons. Maybe we can have cold everything. I have no idea. Why? Why does none of this work? I know if I step back, we'll get it to work in the right direction. I don't even care. Guys, but I just want this one thing to not stretch. Wait, I'm dumb. Dumb. I shouldn't be doing this at all. I should do like, can we do points to curve? Sorry, I just wasted my whole day. No, not points to curve to There we go, points to curve. What is this though? Why would I even use this? To put in a curve index, but not a geometry. So you don't have a group of curves. This would need to reference somewhere. And point index, this would also work as an iterator. How is this different than domain size? Point count's the same as total. What point index though? Wouldn't that just be index? Or not, because index would be curve index. I don't get it. I don't get it. Moving on in life. Cold fusion? See? We don't need fire. We can have cold plasma. The beep is booped. Try clap. Let's restart it. Sorry, that's so loud. I can hear it at least. Yeah, way too loud. We're gonna drop it like 4 decibels. Try beep, just to make sure. Oh my god, I'm dying. I'm so sorry. Okay, we're going down like the 20 decibels. Why is that so loud? Is that just on my end? Or did I just kill all my headphone users? Apologies if I did. I'm not gonna try that again. If anyone's brave out there or wants to blow my ears out, feel free to, you know, beep or clap and we'll test. Yeah, cold fusion, right? We could have just jumped over fire and went straight to cold fusion, right? Like we've been dilly-dallying with this. Vision and lights, cooking, natural gas, it's all a waste. We don't need any of that crap. And if I had a time machine, I would personally go back and I would give them the cold fusion. Solve everyone's problem. Cavemen will love me. For the start, we need fire to melt the iron, of which to make the cold fusion reactors until they work. After that, we can use the first one to make the iron for the second one. Okay, cool, like a 3D printer, right? They can print the parts for the next one. I like that. Okay, so we have a temporary truce with fire. Just until we get the first cold fusion reactor. Oh, this needs to be a survival game. Tell me that wouldn't be an amazing survival game. So points to curves. Is this going to be separate curves? I need you to be one. Can you just be one curve for me? Curve to points. That's kind of cool. It's amazing how much an S will just like destroy all of your plans. Okay, whatever. That's what we have to work with. Let's try curve to mesh. The curved circle. Maybe just a preview start. Or a fewer. So we only need a time machine to break the cycle by giving cold fusion to cavemen. Yeah. So yeah, actually, that's a good point. When does the time machine come up in the tech level? Does that come after cold fusion because the immense amounts of energy needed? And it works. I mean, it doesn't have the ball at the top or bottom, which I liked. That is kind of a... Oh god, can you focus, please? That is a drip. I feel dumb, but I also kind of like solving all my problems in like a couple minutes. I guess the question is, how do we make the curved circle round at the base? What is this? What, huh? I'm in measurement. Go. That one is the original. This one should be the, I think, the ball. We did it. Doesn't quite look like dripping anything. Maybe we can offset it so it intersects. Now I just want it to drip, I guess. You don't know for sure, does cold fusion come before or after a Dyson sphere? Why do I feel like we're missing something between cold fusion and world scale production factories? Then we sucked the oceans dry to make the time machine. I've never heard that one before. That one's interesting. Either way, you'd like the Star Trek replicators to be prioritized for, say, next year. We're getting closer. Like, I wish 3D printers were advancing a little bit faster, but I can't really complain about how fast. Like, there's some really decent upgrades. And I think I recently saw that they found a gel that is just thick enough to print in as a support system, but is obviously still a liquid, so you can lift the thing out when you're done with it. It seems amazing. I think Heisenberg had to say something about that. He said, nah, bro. You hate that dude? Yeah. I don't know. I like Heisenberg. Like, a lot of scientists have done a lot of things. Heisenberg, from my point of view, is one of the only ones to put something out there that's so disruptive. It's just, I don't know. It like scratches a whole other arm of science that people were completely unaware existed, and presented a fact that turned everything on its head, still being discussed today, and opens up so many possibilities, including the nature of our reality. And are there like quantum events collapsing, creating like I don't know, all sorts of implications. Could have freed us from cooking, but no. Right? So if I look through it with this lens, you'll see that the chicken is raw. But if you look through it with this lens, you'll notice that all the atoms have been rearranged so they're cooked. See, I just did it. I just scienced our way out of ever needing to cook again. You're welcome, bachelors. And I don't know, people that don't like to cook, I guess. Okay, so for this, I think we just destroy everything here. Forget it ever existed and just pretends that I did perfectly the first time. Yeah, alright, delete. It's messy, but it's so much cleaner. I've been desensitized to the mess. And half the population dies of salmonella. If we could just get salmonella to work for us and not against us. I feel like there's a lot of scientists working on constructing natural biomechanical robots within your body to do things. Can we just repurpose salmonella? Like, it's got to be a strong actor, right? It really messes with things. Yeah, if we just get it to not make us puke and poop blood, but instead repair our digestive system, that'd be wonderful. Oh, I love the idea of creating little robots inside your body. And they're really playing with the idea of like not sending things in, not having to inject anymore, but actually, well, it might still be some injection. But again, they're just trying to repurpose stuff that you already have to do other things. So nifty. Also, how many people die of salmonella? Like, yeah, it's a horrible thing to go through. And old people and children, definitely. But is salmonella really, like, 100% lethal? I'm looking it up, I'm curious. Lethality of salmonella. I just read something I was not looking for, and I'm now more worried than I was before. So it looks like it's pretty bad, but also looks like it can become worse at certain temperatures. Yeah, I don't know. I just want like a percentage. What is the chance if you get salmonella you're gonna die of it? Okay, the main government is saying mortality rate is about 1% for non-typhoidal salmonella. Like, that's just not a number that I am super afraid of. Like, obviously I don't want salmonella. Like, never want salmonella. But also, I think I'm more afraid of Ebola. Just put that out there. Okay. So we have our drip. We have it cleaned. Curve circle path. Pretty good. Let's take a break and then we'll try and get it to drip again if the surface normal is down. Be tight. Be back soon. Oh, okay. I'm back. You're not afraid of Ebola because it's not very close to the Western world. Salmonella is more prevalent in the West. And now you know there's typhoidal salmonella. Thanks, Obama. Oh, I'm dying. Yeah, sorry for making you realize the world's worse. You know, as little of a chance as there is to get Ebola, I will always be afraid of it. Just because I know what it is. Thanks, Yag. Yeah, Ebola, just like when I heard you could survive Ebola, I was even more terrified. I was like, you know what? If that killed you, that's fine. You know, being as sick as you can be, bleeding from every orifice you have, as your entire body, like all your cells want to break down. And then having to survive that and thinking you could get infected twice. No, thank you. No, thank you. But like typhoid, do we even have typhoid around anymore? I feel like we're all vaccinated for that. What else? So, do you have wax on your eggs? That's always a big question. Because if you take the wax off your eggs, the chance of salmonella is higher. I guess just for eggs. Chickens. Chicken always? Or is that a US thing? I don't know. Salmonella is weird, isn't it? Here's the mind killer. Here's the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I'll permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn to the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Thank you for that, Crowgy. I appreciate that. It was said he would type long passages into chat. Anyway, I don't know enough Dune to actually make good references, so that's the extent. I can just make fun of everyone doing the prophecy thing. It was said he would be a man-child and travel with his mother. With that said, I am still kind of excited for the next movie. At least I was. And Timothy Chalamet was in everything. Still excited, but one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen Timothy Chalamet before, and then I just can't stop hearing him afterwards. Can't be the only one, right? Just want to escape society sometimes. We don't have the thing. Okay. Do the material thing again. I kind of liked it. Oh man, I should color individual faces as they get crossed over. I want to cut this one. I put this in here. Be suspended. Cool. Does something. Let's go from Dune. Wait, you knew? Sorry. Yeah, I admit that I've never read the books, but I've seen the David Lynch. Mixed feelings. More on the good side than the bad side. And then yeah, the new movie with Timothée Chalamet is good. It's really good. I like the big budget movies with the nice environments. Actually, Crowdy, I don't think I got your opinion. Did you like the new movie? You still have the first one? I love a lot of the first one. I would have done things differently. Even though I haven't read Dune, I would still do things differently. Like, it felt like they were trying to do too much in one movie. And the end where he's just like, I'm triumphant. Let me ride away, riding at the, that. It was cool. It needed to be longer, I guess. You haven't seen the new one? Okay. Are you doing that on purpose? I understand if you are. But it's definitely not like MCU. You know what I mean? Like, if you're avoiding it because you're afraid it's just new Hollywood bullshit, I can at least say that it's on par with what I expected from big movie releases when I was younger. I don't know if Lord of the Rings held up perfectly, but when it came out and for years after, it was really good. And I would say Dune is actually kind of on that level. You read the Dune series 9 times and you have your own image of it? I mean, that's fair. That's very real. So if you liked the original, then how far off was David Lynch's imagining from what you imagined? Like I'll just call them the gross people. I wish they were fleshed out more, and I heard that they were fleshed out more in the books. I don't like villains that you can't empathize with, or that don't at least have a logical reason for doing what they're doing. Besides greed, like, I don't know, greedy villains are just lame villains. You should at least have a reason for wanting to accommodate or accumulate that much wealth. I kind of felt like David Lynch might have missed their true motivation besides, like, I don't know, just controlling vice trade, just being underhanded. That said, I do like Dude McDude. Of course, I'm gonna forget his name. Who's in every David Lynch movie? Okay, I'll look up David Lynch. I will click on Twin Peaks because that's the first one. Kyle MacLachlan, of course. Shout to 5 o'clock? We made it this far. Why am I doing this? I was doing drip. Oh, we're gonna drip off of the surface and detach. Aftermath. And I miss having big movies that I wanted to see. I think Dune is maybe one of the only ones. I'm gonna say Venom. I would say Venom's a guilty pleasure, but I'm just not guilty about Venom. I think Venom's a cool character. Tom Hardy would be the guilty pleasure. Yeah, not many movies that I actually want to see these days, so at least Dune's in there. And then I can know something that you know without having to read through 9 books that I hear are. I think I mentioned it before. It's more like a badge of honor for a nerd to be able to say that they got through the Dune series. It's not that it's like poorly written or anything, it's just like it is hard to get through, right? There's a lot to it, a lot going on. Again, I also haven't read Lord of the Rings. I can't get past having page-long descriptions of castle walls and having the worst descriptions of outfits of just like black on black on black on black on black. Yeah. You know? Yeah, maybe I'm missing something. Is there any other movie series that's like alive right now being added to? Yeah, there should be Dot. Went oh for Dot. So we're gonna check the normal for I guess just the down direction. And then we'll have a drip factor. Okay, so dot product will be how aligned we are. We'll say if we're greater than, doesn't really. Okay, I want this as a group input. Because it shouldn't change over the simulation. No, you don't know? You've read LOTR and The Hobbit and The Silmarillion several times? So, The Hobbit, I've read several times. I loved The Hobbit. I have to admit, I skipped the barrel section. Or maybe by the barrel section, it's okay, but the forest with all the spiders is just like really poorly written. It confuses me. I run away from it every time. The rest of The Hobbit, I love. I've read it a few times. Yeah, LOTR, for some reason, has a different feel to it for me. Couldn't really get into that one. The Silmarillion, you ever get influenced by people? I feel like the Silmarillion's one of those. I want to read it because it's supposed to be... Again, people tell me it's kind of the best stories he wrote, like the... I'm not going to remember the name. But he has like a love story that's supposed to be one of the best stories he ever wrote that's in the Silmarillion. I'm sure he can fill in. But then I also hear it's a collection of stories and it's more encyclopedic than a book. And I'm like, okay, I don't know when I'm going to dig into that someday. But the idea that he made a world and then told a couple stories from it, very admirable. Definitely not easy. The only thing you would change is Sam Gamgee. He's such a whiner, so serving, it's appalling. Oh, I think you're talking about my wife's like favorite character. But I don't know that I disagree if he's similar to how he's portrayed in the movies. We do it in here. We can. I don't know. How do I want to do this? Cool math? Yeah, I'm trying to think. The only series I think I've actually read are his Dark Materials. I think I mentioned a couple times. I stalled out on the newest book he put out, the book 2 of the Book of Dust series. Halfway through it. It's good. It got to a low point and I never picked it up again. And then I've read so many Battletech books, but I don't know if they count as a full series. Oh, it has series though. So there's like the Warrior trilogy. There's um the Clan trilogy. There's a few. I think I've read through all of the series of books, and then a bunch of the little ones. And they're easy reading. I'm not gonna lie. You can have him. No, please take him. You insist. Fair. Fair. I don't know. Okay, so if I was gonna change Sam, I think I would just make him. I would make him complain a little bit more. Like, be less whiny and be more like angry. Because it almost feels like every time he's angry, he just ends up whining and doing nothing. He's like, I'm angry and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I'm angry. But Mr. Frodo, I'm really sorry about what I'm going to say. It's like, Sam, just put a cork in it. You read The Hobbit a couple of times. You had to restart Lord of the Rings because you got way too boring in a place. Silmarillion you picked up out of curiosity and dropped pretty quickly because it didn't really have a story to follow. Just some biblical material for the world. Okay. That's interesting. Every time I hear about the Silmarillion, it's kind of like a different take. Not vastly different. Like that, it's the encyclopedic version. Yeah, my father-in-law says the best story is I can never remember the name, but it's like a love story of two of the old immortal people. But I don't. There's all special names for all of the things. Like Gandalf's not a wizard. He is one of five of the immortal beings set to the world for balance or something. Like, I wish he explained it better. Like in the content that people actually read. Not like creating an encyclopedia to correct things. Okay, I think we want an ore. You can drip either if we don't raycast, or we should drip off. Let me plop that in there. And that breaks everything. Good. Why does that break everything? Uncling angle would work. And if we make it an angle, can we do that? It's a float, but it's subtype. If we make an angle, I think this casts from whatever you put in as a degree to putting a radian inside the graph, which I wish we actually had control over and it wasn't some magic behind the scenes. Ashtari. One of the servants of the deities that sang the universe into being. Sounds about right. Forgot the actually. I don't think it's actually. I'm asking to be corrected. Interesting. Wait. Hold on. Some gray cells are firing. What is the Silmarillion? Besides the book, is it named after a thing? Isn't there a specific gem? Forget that. Redact that. What is the Silmarillion? Because if I'm remembering correctly, that might be tied to the love story I'm talking about. Oh, I see. I did normal switch. We do the normal that we hit, then there's no feedback loop. I should also figure out why it slows there. Oh, I so hate this at an angle. I can't do it. None. Then I might want to just cast it to radian. Makes me more comfortable. Okay, this one, radians. Okay, 45. Yes, okay, cool. We got a drip. Okay, fine, if you're not gonna help me, I'll look it up. What is a Cimmerian? Hit a gem? Cimmerian. Silm. Okay, so it sets a collection of myths. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm reaching. The little gray cells, they misfire sometimes. And it's just a wall of text. I can't even, I'm supposed to parse this? Steals the Silmarils. Okay, hold on. I'm not completely off my rocker. I don't quite see any age defining what I'm looking for. Okay, yeah, alright. The Silmarils are 3 fictional brilliant jewels. Okay, I feel like one of them is heavily tied into this love story that I'm talking about. But I get, it's just 3 gems, and there's already a flowchart graph infographic. Silmaril, Forged Sundrel, Fire Demon, the Heredrum. Why are these all in a box? How are these related? Clickable with links. Great, cool. And see, I can't even get into it. Pushed back by the density of material immediately. And a quick scroll doesn't super... Arendelles? Is that what I'm talking about? I don't know. I'll have to have someone tell it to me again. Anyway, we got dripping working. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that so cool? Are you happy for me? And as soon as it undrips, it turns back. It's kind of cool. I just needed to get like a little drippage ball at the bottom. Oh, and then if I could get it to pool. So if it hits a surface in the direction of travel, it either needs to redirect in one direction, or it would need to redirect in, maybe it pools, maybe the action is pooling, and then from the pooling state, you go into as many additional drips as possible. A misuse of toothpaste, but it's cool. Well, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think pooling is next. Okay. The pooling is weird. So if we just, man, it gets weird. It gets weird. We need a separate piece of data to say if we're pooling or not, because we would need to change the size of the curve circle that we are extruding with the curve to mesh to make the pool bigger, which is fine in and of itself, right? Like, okay, cool. So it goes down and it gets to a point that it stops and it starts getting wider instead of dripping down. But then getting multiple drips from that, like if the pool expands to a point, we need to be raycasting from multiple points at the bottom of the pool. If it is unsuspended, then it starts dripping. Maybe we spawn a new drip there. And then we have a horrible problem of recursive nodes. Yeah, and also don't ask me what this is for, because I will be ashamed to say absolutely nothing. I have no idea what I'm using this for. I say the thing about cool mechs, but I don't know if this can actually be that. You know full well this might be a wild goose chase. Okay, wait. If we have a ISO ecosphere, right? Ecosphere. We put that into the join at the right place. It will look like it has a bulged bottom. What's the other sphere? UV sphere. Maybe we want that because it'll line up better. Alright, so reuse resolution. I guess in radius. When we sample, we could sample curve. Point stick curve goes in. Factors 1. It'd be cool to delete half of it. We'll wait on that one. Why are you so big? How's Fluid Sim in Unity? Are there tools for it? I don't know. If I was going to do a Fluid Sim, I'd want to do it myself first because it sounds like fun. I would also go with the soft body simulation that I guess I also kind of want to do. There's got to be something. Zombie was showing that there's a free trial for Ziva fluids, which you could play with unlimitedly, I believe. Ziva got maybe purchased by Unity, so I don't know where that leaves it, but I think there's still a subscription package to do Fluid Sim. But yeah, you could do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you from rolling your own. Denizen art, your crop? Okay. Ooh. We get a bandstand in the half shell. Quite literally. Looking really good. Kind of curious, how'd you make the shape for the shell? I'd assume there's an extrude there. But then is this just a curve that you made by hand? It looks very perfect. Really good. And then oh, and a second frog. Cute. He has tiny feet. But I think that's also appropriate. I think they do have small hands and small feet. I think it looks good. I'm excited to see it. It's gonna be animated, right? Not that I need to, put more on your plate, but how cool would it be? Okay, why is the UV sphere 10 times too big? It rushes off. Cool. Seems to work. Procrastinating, but pooling. His curve that gets curved and curved again, and then say F it and start sculpting. Wait, did you really sculpt it? But I definitely know those recursive curve rabbit holes. I don't know, my voice is going. All right, wait, now I'm curious. Unity Fluid Sim. Okay, someone coded a real-time fluid sim. Yo, we got the word of the day. You really Blender today? I guess I restarted. The 2D one. Medium as something. River. Okay, there are definitely some solutions out there. Okay, $20 for a 2D fluid sim on the marketplace. That's not terrible if you don't want to do it yourself. Again, I think making a fluid sim would be a lot of fun. That's why I like Unity, because I can just try some of these crazy things. Oh yeah, and someone just, oh man, I ruined it for myself. Ruined it. I looked at stuff. Okay, if you want someone to tell you how to program it yourself, here's a link for that. And then yeah, okay, River. Seems interesting. Very shiny. It's definitely a fluid sim. I don't know. For a lot of it, I would fake it. Actually, I found recently if you just do ripples and you're constantly generating ripples um, in some like, I don't know, regular areas, you probably want it to tile. You can actually get a really nice ocean effect. Just stacking ripples. Yeah, this looks cool. And I have no idea how well it runs. As soon as you're doing fluid sims, thinking you're highly specialized. Not exactly like World of Warcraft content. The axes you curve around are always a surprise. You never get it right the first time. You need to F around literally till you start spewing copious amounts of expletives and then it works. I mean, that sounds like my Blender experience. Man, maybe I'll do a fluid sim one day. That'll be like a couple weeks or a month of probably spewing profanities and my own stupidity. Dang, what was I doing again? Pooling? Okay, whatever. Going off the rails now. I don't fully have a good idea of how to do the rest of this. Like again, yeah, we could expand in a circular way from what we're extruding. Almost feels like you'd want to do some ray casts and create a new geometry that's going to start filling up the stopped surface. And I almost feel like geometry to volume and volume back to geometry do a decent amount for that. Hmm. Oh, shout out to 530. Okay, wait, if we can stack this or recurse it a little bit, then we could have an output for if we're actually stopped. We have an output for if we're falling. Yes, bended is for when we're falling. We have another one for when we're not. For like when we're not moving forward at all. Let's try it. So this one raycasts the surface. Okay, so the only problem is everything you raycast needs to have a given collider geometry. But then how do you need to like combine everything, join geometry, merge it? You have a copy of the whole scene if you need like a big drip. Did I? You know what? I'm an idiot. I even know when I typed that. Dripping. Dripping angle. So I was complaining about Pico being a perverted uncle headset. Yeah. Alright, let's do one more raycast. It's gonna be travel drip. Them out, go forward, so that'll be the ray length. So position is to do it after we move it. We'll move it and then see if we should be stopping next frame. I think this is the question. I think we need our own, or the old geometry. Only gonna ever collide with one thing. Throw me for a loop. I guess we can freeze it forever if we wanted to. Oh, that's the one. Okay, it's hit be stopped. All right, so you should have another node group that's going to run this node on specific points. I think it just needs points. Which means we might want to take out the fact that we have a starting point object and give it just a vector. So we need to do a combine. Oh, we could do another object combine in a group node. We'll try that. I do want to get another color change. Okay, we'll go to like a red material. We're on the ecosphere. That good. Totally. All right, we're not actually using collision objects. Let's change things. And this. All right, so we put in ecosphere. That in both those. All right, that should be enough. And turns red. Okay, stopped is good. Okay, the is hit would only happen if we are doing both being hit and not suspended. Okay, so I did do the stop. We could pool there and continue at the same time. And that means one less strip for the pool to calculate, technically. Because we could just check the right and left axes and just assume that the forward axis is going to continue. If it has any momentum, it's going to come from there and it's not going to deviate. Right? From here, if it pools because there's more surface area to catch, or it trips again, it would go big and start tripping left and right. So I guess the next thing would be, I don't know, doing the trip as part of a pooling process. There we go. Little backup, just a little one. Okay, this one, instead of a start object, start object, you're going to turn into a vector. You plug in there, and then instead of start point object, we are just start point. Okay. Feel very ugly. Oh, it's someday I'll get good at organizing these. For now, we just need a start point. Chip angles, good. Resolution, radius. Be fine. Cone. Okay. I don't want to get too in the weeds, but my brain's already jumping to like some far off BS. Like, we need to have a variable repeat zone. The number of iterations needs to be based off the surface area of the edge of the pool. So if we could measure an edge length and select select an edge length that does the circumference of the pool, we'd be in a good state. Oh, or bounds. It's gonna kill though, because we're gonna need a simulation zone because it needs to grow over time as you keep putting more fluid into the pool. Whatever, we'll start here. Vector map. So we subtract min, well, max from min, from max. You know, math. And then we grab I want to get cubic size. I guess square size. Alright, we'll separate. Check. Here's add. Both axes together. Or multiply. I guess multiply, that'd be the area. And we divide based off of, I guess we're doing kind of a voxel thing. Just needs to be voxel size for now. Turn that into iterations. Yeah, getting that edge loop would be great for so many reasons, including turning the edge loop into a curve that we can sample a number of times. Edge paths? What's an edge path? So is this assuming a quad workflow, you select one vert, and then the next, and it's going to just keep going? Get an edge loop? Okay, if we have a pool, how do we get the middlemost edge loop? So are we using volumes? Mesh to volume, volume to mesh. Then points? Should it all just be points that we turn into something else? How do I do this easy? Do we just use points? So if we have multiple, I guess they don't make a grid automatically. It's a mesh primitive grid. What is a grid? What? Really? So it's yet another way to make a plane. What was the other way that I found? Was it called a quadrilateral? Oh, that makes a curve. Never mind. Yeah, okay. Grid does the mesh circle with 4 verts thing, I guess, but it doesn't even subdivide? What's the point of giving it extra vertices? Where are the vertices? Wait, it's probably me. Hold on, sorry, dumb. Super dumb. There they are. Because it's not showing me my wireframe. Use always show wireframe, even if at low opacity. Cool. Wish I found that earlier. I would have saved a lot of... Alright, so if we do grid to points, or grid through a mesh to points, then that's pretty much voxelized. And then for every point, so yeah, for every point we want to do a raycast. This is going to be our source position. We're going to keep looking down. Is the incoming geometry? Useless. Like set position doesn't totally work, but set position is nice because it at least iterates. And I guess we need a repeat zone. If I do mesh to points, I could probably delete points. Or reorganize points. I like that. That seems like a good idea. If this works, because, you know, geometry switches, sometimes the most broken of broke. Yeah, already hates that. So I can switch colors. Great, great, great. Cool. We could store a bool on them, I guess. Okay, this is weird. Are we gonna make points to put back in? Okay, needs to be collision geo, object info. all this crap for later. Meanwhile, we have object info. We do still need this. I don't know if that's right. I don't think we want to check the whole object that we can collide with. Probably just the points under the thing. Hey, we should be expanding. Okay, that makes sense. So expand. That means we're kind of already in a simulation zone. Oh, okay, this could be a Blender crasher. Let's wrap the whole thing. So we can keep that out. The bounding box needs to be up the other thing. Or just one size for now. Oh cool, we broke everything. Love that. So we have a grid that's going to change. We should have two. Check our X and Y. Divide by voxel size. That goes into the vertices. But also, why is everything broken? Where's the red? Where's the bubbles to tell me that everything's wrong? Just the read input zone? Well, not just that. Okay, growth amount we'll just externalize for now. I don't get why it's broke. Okay, I definitely don't get why that broke it. Stuart definitely going the right. Wait, we need points to volume? That should work unless we're actually going to iterate through and make the volume out of a mesh that's looping. But I think just keeping track of all the points might be more efficient. So this is saying specific that I can't have something that happens in the simulation that gets put into the repeat. Okay, so if I just had a grid, I throw that in, fine. If I just have a grid and I do a mesh to points, it's still fine. Oh, it's only the bounding box. I guess that's fair. The geometry can just keep getting fed in and out and transitioned between a mesh and a volume. Or I guess a mesh and the process of measuring the mesh to create the points to recreate the same mesh through some complication. What is this object? All that pool geo. This object can't be that. This one goes in here. And here. Okay, that's the trick. Constantly measuring the pool. Use size X and then size X grows. No, it still breaks. Why? Okay, I'll put this here. We'll just say size X divisor. Actually, no, it's backwards. If we multiply it twice, that's squared. Okay, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all then. I can't sample an index at a point that was just created? Yeah, but why can't I never get points? Like a variable number of points? And so I could make points. I could probably do a set position to put them into a grid. But I can't use a grid and turn it to mesh to points and then use those points in anything. Okay, here we go. Highly intelligent coding about to happen. So mesh to points, you're a Cancer. Get out of here. Grid, you're like a dream that could never be realized. Points. You get this. Oh wait, do you break everything? I cannot have a variable number of points plugged into a sample or a raycast. Oh, no, it's not in the raycast. Okay, it's not about the sample. Not about the repeat. Wait, legit, was that just stupid group output hijacking anything accurate looking? You know, it's something I would have figured out eventually anyway, but it's something I wouldn't figure I need to do right now. I wouldn't figure that prematurely plugging something into the output node would break the visuals of everything in the group node. That seems asinine to me. But sure, Blender, I'm sure, has a great reason for doing that. Okay, so grid mesh to points. This might be superfluous. Repeat in the input. Or do I need a geometry into the input of the repeat? I don't know. I might not. We just need to do something in the repeat. So we're raycasting. Do it like that. And then we have these come out. There. What's my opinion on the state of Blender's GeoNodes? How production ready would you consider it? Well, that's a good question. Which production pipeline? Like for visuals and cinematics? Could be okay, I guess. For game assets, whatever you can put out, you can put out. It's fine. But yeah, then there's the bridge where you can do live evaluations of Blender node graphs in like Unity. I would say it's very early, but promising. Yeah, I don't know. If it's just to make stuff, it's getting better quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if it would be considered like a production ready workflow soon. Soon, maybe like a couple of years to really get all of the bugs out, add in a couple more features. And again, I also wouldn't be surprised if people were using this in production now. If it's ready as it is, it definitely takes a lot smarter user than you. I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of the problem. It might be production ready for people that really know it. Like there's obviously, I don't know about Blender Guru. Who's the other one? Default Cube? Like Default Cube is obviously at some sort of level where he's doing like renders that have been put together with node groups. Yeah, I don't think it's fully adopted yet. Yeah, I think it needs to have better pivot options, like knowing being able to put in a point in world space that you want to rotate a mesh you created within a node graph would be really important. Find yourself bumping into weird, if I was writing code, you could do this, this or this, but in geometry node, your options are none of those. Yeah, true. And the ones that look right doesn't do anything. Yeah, that is the bummer. That's why I'm hoping a couple more years because I don't know. I was complaining a lot last year, but still getting stuff done. And this year, there's a lot less complaints. But yeah, there's still some oddities. Like, you'd hope there'd be multiple workflows to get some things done. Like the extruding thing. I would like to have extruded half of a sphere along a set of points, but it just had that extra artifact I couldn't deal with. I don't know. I also don't know what companies would consider production ready. For me, it's just like if you're willing to use it, I guess. There's some kind of logic to using geonodes you're clearly nowhere in sync with. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm with you, especially when it's like sample index. And I can't be convinced it's not a bug. But like when you're doing sample index and you are sampling the position of an instance, if you switch it to a set of points and you switch it to check the position of a point at the index, it like can mess up. And I think it's a bug. I think there's just a little bug here and there. I also haven't been seeing, there are updates for Blender. I think I had a big one the other day, but I don't see what they're actually hotfixing, just that there's hotfixes. Who knows? Yeah, rotation is my biggest pet peeve. They're gonna need to do something with that. Even just a set of like proper quaternions, because you can do rotation to quaternion, but you only have rotations as input and outputs. Same one. Rotation to quaternion. And it's like important to have these, but always coming down to a 3 value thing means you're always going back to an Euler, and that means you're always losing the important piece of data that makes sure you're not flipping. So, I don't know. What do you do with this? Honestly, not really willing to do all of my own quaternion math. Inputs of a rotation is 3. So hopefully soon. They move fast, but they also are kind of slow. This isn't gonna work, right? I immediately can't do a switch. I think if it's true, we do this. Otherwise, we do nothing. There's like... I don't know. Also found delete geometry doesn't quite work. Like if you delete a vertex or a series of edges, it's not going to leave a face, it's going to leave a hole. And then how do you fill holes? Yeah, there's no quite... I don't see anything about holes. So I get, yeah, delete geometry. It's good for some things, like removing whole mesh islands, but if you ever wanted to try and do a decimation, I think you're just gonna fall on your face. Okay, so can we do an is hit on selection? Okay, so that's like a switch, right? It'll either give something or nothing. I can do 2 with Boolean math for not. Nope, no fields to switch geometry. Can't let you generate multiple geo instances and break causality that way. I mean, it kind of makes sense. No. No, I don't think it makes sense. Like, there's been at least one case where I could get a geometry switch to work. I don't remember what the case was specifically, but it exists. But most of the time, I'm just like, why does this exist? If you can't actually put square things in, and almost everything's a square thing you want to plug in there. Right? Because that's it, it's the shapes. Some change shape all by themselves magically. Not that one. Okay, so we're either going to add a point or we're going to add nothing. Same thing as a switch. It's functional. It's broke. We're going to add the points for all things. Are we actually going to iterate? Do we not even need the repeat? Am I doing something done? Because we have mesh to points and then we have sample index. We need... Okay, need a count. Domain size for points. Point count goes into iterations. Is anything actually in the repeat zone? How do I make it so it actually repeats this? Because I don't think it's going to. Nothing's in the repeat zone. Everything's just casually hanging out around the repeat zone. There's separate geometry that takes fields and its output selection and its inverse. That's not bad, but you can't separate like a vert, right? Still not decimating. Doesn't operate on full geometry level though. When you say full geometry, are we talking instance where it's an object, but not an object, just like one whole thing, or realized geometry where it is touched on a component level? And set position, actually I don't know if set position overrides. It is confusing. There's just like a few contexts that you're in at any one time. I think because this has geometry, oh, we need to join the old ones. With maybe nothing. It's weird that nothing is actually in this. joins. We'll put the volume, whatever that looks like, and we'll put points. I guess stable volume and falling points. And I'm not debugging anything, so if this doesn't work, it's not going to be very obvious. Okay, never mind. I lied. I lied. Please pause. Whichever the switch node's geometry refers to, sounds like everything. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we could get around the switch node if you put in either a realize instance or a geometry instance. What if it will let you switch between... Sorry, that doesn't even matter, does it? As soon as you put the Boolean in to a geometry switch, it gives you a red line, I think. That's the truly baffling thing. It might overcome the red line when you put in enough, you know, fill all of the ports in the node. But that's not always how I want to use it. Okay. Why is this growing like a sphere instead of like a puddle? Like grid should be flat. Alright, let's just see all of the outputs that we get. Every point that we're raycasting. These. Okay, 0.5 should still be kind of big, right? Okay, it grows. It gets very slow as it grows, though. Like, kind of to be expected. But maybe that's where we should start deleting points. We should also have a bool for if every edge has a unsuspended raycast, we stop growing. Oh, it's slowing down a lot. We also have to get the outer ones as opposed to the inner ones. Just a little bit to this. Not exactly the most straightforward. So if we wanted to like loop, right, and destroy points that are hanging over something, so we can kind of stop it from growing. Then we need a set inner points and we only grow the outside instead of just like recreating the entire puddle points and recasting all of the rays every time. What is the best way to do this? Because it would be best if we could just add rings. We do that. Always curve circle, have the curve circle be a certain radius based off of how far we want to spread. Turn that into a series of points based off the length of the curve. Add those into the whole list and check to see which ones fall off. I guess we don't need to add it to the list. We could just check to see which ones fall off. And if they don't fall off, add them to the list. If they do fall off, put them in a separate list for where we start drips. I'm feeling like I'm going to need a better computer if I actually want to do any serious simulation, anything. Oh, we'll start with the GPU next year, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Try this again. Let's do a growing circle. Yes. Okay, curve circle. Do curved points, right? Oh, yeah, again. Curve 2 points. So, up so many things. Do we care about resolution if we're putting points on it? The resolution need to change as it gets bigger. Definitely need to change the number of points that we put on. I'm getting tired. Someone should make me a hot cocoa. That would wake me up. That would do it. We need size and radius. We also need size divided by Size divided 5. We'll still use voxel even though it's not voxel anymore. Okay, but this does mean we need to add. Or not. We join them, but not now, right? These ones are the ones that should actually get checked and then added to everything else. Let me put the some of them, we're going to need to figure out how to stop drips if we are raycasting down, but we're past one that already raycasted down. I mean, like if we're dripping and we're growing, we want to make sure that we're not creating drips in empty space. Definitely something we'll figure out tomorrow. By definitely, hopefully we'll figure it out tomorrow. Definitely not today. Curved points, main size. It's good. Charge is good. His hit is good. Actually, do we need his hit anymore? So one thing, we could try to figure out angle, and if we are in the same angle as one that failed already, we need a list of angles to check against. You know, Catalyst, you're not wrong. Things that I would find easier to do in code are definitely trickier than those. Immediately great. President stops? Why would it stop? X should be getting bigger by value every time. Just 0.5. I don't get why it doesn't get bigger though. Okay, so in theory, we could just stop it as soon as one point is off the surface in dripping, because that could, in theory, be all of the output we need to have the puddle sustain. Not grow, but not shrink. Did I do something silly like put, I don't know, eyes into a point? Okay, so that's a bunch of points. Put yeah, put a volume. Why does it keep growing as 5? Oh. Herp derp size should be good. Yeah, we just need to definitely make sure it has a stop case. Okay, so we could do a lot of conditions here to stop growth. Let's try the easy one, which is like as soon as we have one that we cast down, which might be kind of immediate, but it's something. If we got hit before, or we hit this time, we log that we hit. I think we need a knot here. Okay, so if we hit or we have been hit, so I'll start with saying it hits. And if the incoming hit or the other one doesn't, we put it back. And we also use that to see if we continue growth. All right, we'll just try it. Okay, raycast immediately failed. Oh, it's 3:35. I gotta wrap up soon. Very soon. That's weird. Cut this and I think it works. Just need to get the bool correct for whether we have one that doesn't hit. Alright, we're gonna plug you into you. And reverse that. Then we're gonna check is hit, which starts true. And this hit, which is true or false. Unmute this. And that'll say as long as one of them is false, we're gonna return a true. And if it's true, we're gonna reverse that to be a false, and we're gonna continue growth. Hopefully that means if any of the points doesn't raycast, that all of them stop. Oh. I just feel like nothing worked. Do we not this one? So just the raycast not being repeated? Does it always have one that fails? Something weird's going on. I don't know. Why do I always have problems with Boolean math? I think every once in a while there's like an erroneous bool, or a bool that will be the wrong value that I don't expect it to be, and it can just throw off everything. Also, it'd be cool if they were color coded, so it's just like, hey, if you're stepping through this one's false right now. Just like a green or a red veneer. I don't know how to do it. It'd be cool to set up like I don't know, debug situations that were like easier. Where when you have things that are based off a bunch of indexes, it'd be easy to just be like, hey, pretend we're this index and stop telling me that it's every index. So I can actually trace some numbers and, figure out where my math is wrong. Because it's also not super easy to put out numbers out of the node system unless you're creating an object and setting its height to be the number that you're looking for, and you can just see where it is. But how much of a pain in the butt is that? That's at least 2 or 3 nodes. I'm going to say at least 3 nodes. You probably want a viewer, you want a transform position, you want some sort of geometry that you're going to move. If you're not going to do a join. Anywho. Yeah, we'll figure this out tomorrow. I feel like there's hope. So, I'm going to wrap up. Not too many people on. I think I'm just going to peace. We should start rating again soon, though. Anyway, thank you all my lurkers, my shadows, my VOD watchers. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope to see you again tomorrow between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jump in the Discord if you want. Link in the description below. Find out when I go live. I will also hopefully start posting some, screenshots what I worked on stream. Man, I've been straying. We'll get back on track soon. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be here, or I'll miss you. Goodbye.